Ultimate Walt Disney World is a documentary on Amazon Prime at the moment, and it's about an hour long. And as soon as I saw it, I jumped to watch it because I love anything to do with Disney and the Disney parks. Now, I have not been to Walt Disney World. I've been to Disneyland in Paris, but I haven't been to Florida, and I would love to go. And I thought I'd watch this because it might seem quite interesting and make me all the more excited for whenever we can travel internationally again. To be honest, it's not. As a documentary, it's very good. But from what I was wanting from it as a Disney documentary, I feel like it's lacking in a few things. And one could argue that that's because the focus was slightly different. So maybe I'm not disappointed in the documentary as such. I'm disappointed in Disney, in the parks, and I will explain why. So this is from Lightship Entertainment, brilliant name. Don't believe seen anything they've done before. And this is all about the thrill rides at Walt Disney World in Florida. So we're not looking at the Flying Dumbos, we're looking at the rides for the thrill seekers, Space Mountain and Splash Mountain as well, and all the other kind of big rides, which is great because it's always fun to see them. We obviously get ride footage, a little bit of point of view, mostly just cameras pointing at the people in the rides and watching them freak out, and that's great because I love watching those kinds of videos on YouTube. I always find them adorable and just great fun, and always makes me want to go there. And in a way, this does feel like an hour-long advert for Walt Disney World. It feels like an extended version of when you'd get a VHS tape from a holiday park advertising the holiday park. It kind of feels a bit like that. But I do have to say, before I get in with the aspect that I don't like, it's very well put together. We have some brilliant shots of the rides, interiors, exteriors. We have very brief vox pops with people who have just been on the rides and they're sharing their thoughts, and there's an element of nostalgia for people, adults who are going back now with their children, and it's lovely. And we get to see a few scenes of the park. We don't really get to see very much of it in terms of the village, the shopping, the restaurants. It's just focusing on the rides. And I like the way it's pieced together. We have interviews with the Imagineers who come up with the rides, create the rides. I did think it spent far too long on a few things. It spent a lot of time talking about one of their space rides. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one where it's basically like a rocket launch. I don't know if they still have it. This documentary is from 2006. So it's very outdated, very, very outdated now. But they spent a lot of time on that, and then some of the other rides they really quickly brushed over. So I feel like either it could have been a two-parter or a longer documentary, or they could have just cut back some of the information because it got a bit repetitive at times. But it was still interesting and really fascinating to learn just how long it takes to create a ride from conception to actualization. And I guess that's something I never really thought about. I know it takes a long time, but obviously there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's really interesting to kind of realize the science behind it. So in all, the documentary's fine. It's enjoyable. It's nice enough. But the thing that disappointed me, and as I said, maybe it's not the documentary that caused this disappointment, but Disney World. There was only one Disney ride. Although the dinosaurs might have been one. I'm not sure if the dinosaurs ride was based on the film Dinosaurs, or if it was just, I don't know if it was an Animal Kingdom, or I don't know. But we did have a look at the Toy Story ride that was there at the time. I don't know if it's still there or if it's been kind of removed now that we have the proper Toy Story park. But there are so many of these rides that have nothing to do with Disney, and apart from a quick look at Mickey Mouse in costume in that Toy Story ride, there's not really any Disney in this. And at what point does Disney stop being Disney? Like, in the Paris one, apart from Space Mountain and the one that's outdoors that may actually be based on Indiana Jones, something mountain. Yeah, I'm sure it's blatantly obvious, and I'm sure you're screaming it at me. But apart from that, Paris is very much Disney, whereas here it kind of feels like the Walt Disney World rides are only partially based on Disney, certainly the thrill rides, and that just takes away the magic. So it's not that I would never go to Walt Disney World. I'm desperate to go when Florida's cool because I can't do heat. But for this documentary, I was looking for an enjoyable Disney fest, and that wasn't delivered. But then maybe, as I said, that's maybe just because the thrill rides are not quite so Disney based. I say thrill rides. The Toy Story ride wasn't exactly a thrill ride, but it was interesting to see how it worked. So would I recommend this? Yeah, of course I would. If you're a Disney fan, it's a nice way to spend just under an hour just learning a bit more about the parks. If you've been, you may get more out of it. Because I guess if you've been there and you can visualize it and you've been on the rides, it's nice to look at it from a different perspective. From my angle, I enjoyed the fact that it was educational and informative and showed us inside some of the rides. I didn't like the fact that there's not much Disney in it, but who's to blame? Either way, I'd say it's worth a watch.